Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something pretty special in the watch world, high horology territory.
Definitely.
We've got this article focusing on a watch that kind of challenges the norms, mixing serious complexity with a, well, surprising price point.
That's the one, the Horage Autark Tourbillon.
Right. And our mission here, using this source, is to really, pull out the essentials. What's the tech inside? Why is it getting noticed? And what does attainable even mean when you're talking tourbillons and micro-rotors?
Exactly. It's about understanding the engineering feat and then how Horage is actually positioning this thing.
Okay, let's dive in. Because the first thing that really jumped out at me is that combination, micro-rotor and tourbillon.
hmm
For anyone less familiar, maybe let's break those down first. Why is putting those two together such a big deal? What's a tourbillon, fundamentally?
Fundamentally, a tourbillon is a classic high complication. It's this rotating cage,
Yeah.
holds the escapement, the time-regulating bit, and it turns usually once a minute. The original idea, way back, was to fight gravity's effect on pocket watch accuracy. You know, when it sits vertically.
Right.
Rotating it averages out those little gravitational pulls. So historically about accuracy, super complex to make, and yeah, often visually amazing.
Okay, complex visual historical accuracy boost. Got it. Now, the micro-rotor.
That's totally different. It's about automatic winding. So instead of that big weight swinging over the whole movement.
Yeah, the standard rotor.
Right. The micro-rotor is small, and it's actually set down into the movement plates, integrated.
Oh.
The big plus. So it lets you make the whole movement much, much thinner.
Okay, so you've got the tourbillon needs power, needs space to spin, and the micro-rotor, great for thinness, but maybe, not known for massive winding power compared to a full rotor.
Exactly.
Combining them sounds tricky.
Oh, absolutely. It's a serious engineering challenge. You need to make that little rotor efficient enough to wind the watch properly and keep that power-hungry tourbillon ticking along happily for a decent power reserve.
Requires a really specialized design then.
Totally, top to bottom. And the source does point out you don't see this combination very often. It's pretty rare, even in the high-end space.
That rarity just highlights the difficulty, I guess.
For sure.
Which kind of leads us to Horage. How did they get to a place where they could even try this in-house?
Well, they weren't always doing everything themselves. They started earlier, but the article mentions this key shift around 2009. They decided to become, vertically integrated.
Meaning bring movement making in-house.
Yeah, move away from using movements from outside suppliers like they did with their very first watch.
So this Autark Tourbillon, it's not their first rodeo with in-house movements. They built up to it.
Absolutely. The source lays out the timeline. There was the Jonas K1 automatic back in 2015, which became the Omnium K1.
Okay.
Then came the K2 Micro-Rotor.
The first part of the puzzle.
Right. And the KTOU, which was a hand-wound tourbillon, those showed up in other models like the Superseed GMT and their Tourbillon 2.
So they had the separate pieces.
And then more recently, a second-gen automatic, the K3, basically replaced the K1.
So they had the micro-rotor tech and the tourbillon tech already developed. What pushed them to combine them for this watch, the KTMR?
This is pretty cool, actually. The source says it was community requests.
Really? Like fans asked for it?
Yeah, people following the brand saw they had the K2 Micro-Rotor and the KTOU tourbillon and basically said, hey, can you put these together?
Wow. A high complication born from, forum suggestions. That's neat. And they did it fast.
Amazingly fast, according to the article. Just 18 months to develop the KTMR caliber.
18 months for a micro-rotor tourbillon.
Yeah, leveraging their existing know-how from the K2 and KTOU, obviously. But still, that's quick.
So this makes 4 production in-house movements for Horage now, the KTMR being the latest, and kind of a response to their fans.
Exactly. Speaks volumes about their capabilities and, that they actually listen.
Okay, let's look at the watch itself, the Autark Tourbillon. Case and wearability grade 5 titanium is highlighted. Why grade 5?
Good question. Grade 5 is important because it's not just pure titanium, like grade 2, which is softer. Grade 5 is an alloy titanium, aluminum, vanadium.
Right.
Makes it way stronger, harder, almost like steel in terms of scratch resistance, but it keeps that amazing lightness of titanium.
And it's not just the case.
Nope, case, bracelet, and the tourbillon cage itself, all grade 5.
That's a serious commitment to the material. How big is it? How does it wear?
But pretty wearable dimensions, 39.5 millimeter diameter, which is a good size. The thickness is key, just under 9 millimeter. That's properly thin.
Wow. Especially for what's inside.
Definitely. Lug to lug is about 48.3 millimeter, and the lug width is 22 millimeters, giving it a bit of presence despite the thinness.
And the case design, the finish.
You get a polished bezel, which
Hmm.
contrasts nicely with the mostly brushed finish on the case itself. There's also this distinctive cutout on the case side, kind of a style thing, emphasizes the lightness,
Hmm.
and full crown guards on the right give it a bit of a sportier, tougher look.
Now, this is where the source gets really interesting. They hammer home that this is not some delicate, safe, queen tourbillon.
Yeah, this is maybe the biggest surprise. The article really stresses the durability. They mentioned the Horage team, CEO included,
Yeah.
wearing these things snowboarding
Snowboarding.
with a tourbillon.
Yep. Riding motorcycles, hiking, swimming. They even say light ocean diving is okay thanks to the 100-meter water resistance.
Even without a screw-down crown.
Even without one, it's clearly meant to be lived with day in, day out, not just for special occasions.
That's a different philosophy for a tourbillon, for sure. And it comes on an integrated titanium bracelet.
It does. Integrated sports watch style, all titanium. And it has their own clasp, the HMAC clasp.
What's special about that?
It's super thin, only 5.6 millimeter thick. But the clever bit is this internal pusher system, tool-free adjustment.
Oh, nice. Like on the fly.
Exactly. Gives you 10 millimeters of adjustment in 1 millimeter steps. Perfect for getting the fit just right, as your wrist swells a bit during the day. Real comfort feature. So the takeaway feel is thin, light, comfy, tough. A go-anywhere watch that just happens to have a Micro-Rotor tourbillon inside.
That's absolutely the message. Black tie one night, hiking trail the next morning.
Okay, let's move on to the crystal. Sapphire, I assume?
Yep, sapphire crystal, multiple anti-reflective coats, and a sapphire display back too, of course. Got to see that movement.
And dial options. What choices do you have?
The source lists a few. Sunray blue, though, I think that's now a textured galactic blue, a smooth sunray black, that textured galactic blue, a textured gradient gray, and a smooth salmon.
Nice range. And some have a different layout.
Right. The blue and black are time only. Simple, clean.
Okay.
But the gradient gray and the salmon dials, they add a power reserve indicator.
Ah, where's that located? How does it look?
It's tucked up at 10 o'clock. It uses these 4 little colored bars, blue when full, then light blue, yellow, red as it winds down.
Mm-hmm.
Shows the 72-hour reserve.
Pretty intuitive.
Yeah, quick glance. And it sits inside this nice applied steel frame silver on the salmon dial, gold on the gray, matching the hands and indices.
Speaking of hands and indices.
They're open-worked, silvered hour and minute hands. Superluminova in the top halves, applied indices, also with lume inserts, double index up at 12, standard legible sports watch stuff, really.
And a minute track.
Yep, on the angled flange, right under the bezel. Little boulder marks where the indices point to it. Red accents on the black dials track, I believe.
Got it. Okay, now, the main event. 6 o'clock, that big flying tourbillon.
Definitely the star of the show. It's a 60-second flying tourbillon, large aperture. Flying, meaning it's only supported from underneath.
Right. No upper bridge, more open view.
Exactly. You really see it dance.
And we mentioned the cage material.
Grade 5 titanium again. Super light, incredibly complex, 43 parts, weighs just 0.29 grams. Tiny. That lightness helps efficiency.
What about the crucial bits inside? The escapement.
That's where you see that distinct blue color. It's silicon. Silicon escapement parts and a silicon hairspring, too.
Which is pretty advanced stuff, especially for an independent brand Horage's size.
It really is. Big technical plus.
And the source mentioned something innovative about how the cage is supported, not just a standard pivot.
Yes. This is key to that durability they talk about. Instead of a traditional jewel and pinion, it rotates on a custom ceramic ball bearing system.
Ceramic ball bearings. In the tourbillon.
Yeah. 7 tiny ceramic balls, just 0.2 millimeters each.
What's the advantage there? Why ceramic balls?
Much higher shock resistance, way more durable than the traditional setup. Less friction, less wear over time. This is a major reason why they can say, yeah, go snowboarding with it. It helps make it a genuine daily wearer.
That makes sense. A practical solution for a typically fragile component. And how do you track the seconds with it?
Simple and elegant. There's a little blued screw on one of the tourbillon cage arms that acts as your running seconds indicator as it sweeps around.
Clever. Okay, so this amazing tourbillon, it's all driven by the KTMR caliber. Let's get into that engine. We know Micro-Rotor plus tourbillon, but how did they make it all work efficiently?
Well, it's a combination of things we've touched on. That super light titanium tourbillon cage helps a lot less mass to move.
Right.
Then the silicon parts escapement, hairspring, they drastically reduce friction.
Lower friction, lower energy needs.
Exactly. And then the Micro-Rotor itself, even though it's small, it's designed to be as efficient as possible within that space, to generate enough winding power.
And there's an actual choice of material for the rotor.
There is. Standard is rhodium-plated tungsten, which is already quite dense. But you can upgrade to PT950 Platinum.
Does the platinum actually make a difference in winding?
It does, yeah. Platinum is even denser than tungsten. So the source says it improves winding efficiency by about 8%.
Interesting. But even the tungsten is good.
Oh, yeah. The article notes that both versions offer winding efficiency comparable to a standard full-size rotor. So no real compromise there despite the size.
And those silicon components, again, less friction, anything else?
Big one. They're completely anti-magnetic.
Ah, very important these days.
Absolutely. With magnets everywhere, phones, laptops, speakers having key parts immune to magnetic fields adds another layer of everyday robustness and accuracy.
So give us the vital stats for the KTMR movement itself.
Okay, so dimensions, 30 millimeter diameter and just 3.6 millimeter thick. Remember, that includes the Micro-Rotor and the Tourbillon.
Oh, impressive.
24 joules. It beats at 3.5 hertz, which is 25,200 vibrations per hour. Power reserve is a solid 72 hours.
3 days. Nice. And accuracy.
They rate it within a Minica 4 to plus 6 seconds per day, which, is actually better than the COSC chronometer standard.
So technically very capable. And looking through the case back, how's the finishing?
It's well decorated. You get Côte de Genève, those Geneva stripes, various brushed finishes, and also Horage's signature grid pattern on the main plate, which has this anthracite coating. Looks quite modern and technical.
The source mentioned maybe early ones look different.
Yeah, just to note that some early prototype photos might not have shown the Côte de Genève, but the production models definitely have the full finishing described.
Okay, let's pull it all together. We have this incredibly complex in-house movement. Micro-Rotor for thinness, Tourbillon for the horological cred and visual appeal. Case in lightweight, strong, grade 5 titanium, built tough ceramic bearings, daily wear focus, micro-adjust clasp, highly accurate good power reserve. Now, the price. This is where that attainable word comes back in. How does this all stack up financially?
Yeah, this is where, according to the article, the Autark Tourbillon really makes waves. We've established Micro-Rotor tourbillons are rare and technically demanding.
And usually stratospherically expensive?
Exactly. The article gives a reference point, mentions a Bell & Ross BRX2 tourbillon Micro-Rotor. Retail price. CHF 59,900, so nearly 60,000 Swiss francs.
Okay.
And the article describes that price as being kind of on the lower end for this type of watch from a known brand.
Okay, bracing myself. What's the Horage asking price?
Get this, 12,990 Swiss francs with the tungsten rotor.
Wait, 12,990 CHF.
12,990. And 14,990 CHF if you want the platinum rotor upgrade.
Wow.
And that price is the same, whether you choose the time-only dial or the one with the power reserve indicator.
That is genuinely astounding compared to the Bell & Ross example. A fraction of the price.
The source absolutely calls it out, describes it as an astounding value proposition. You're getting a real Swiss-made in-house high-complication Micro-Rotor tourbillon with all this tech and finishing for that price.
So Horage isn't just making a complex watch. They seem to be making a statement that this level of watchmaking doesn't have to cost 6 figures.
That seems to be exactly their goal, proving that high horology can be, well, more accessible, not cheap, obviously, but attainable for a much wider audience than usually gets to play in this sandbox.
And that focus on wearability, we keep mentioning the toughness, the lightness, the clasp, that's part of the value too, isn't it?
For sure. It's not just, here's a less expensive tourbillon. It's, here's a tourbillon you can actually wear every day, doing normal stuff, maybe even adventurous stuff. That practicality is rare at any price point for this complication.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive.
Right.
The Horage Autark Tourbillon. It's this unique blend, in-house Micro-Rotor and tourbillon. Built tough with grade 5 titanium, smart features like ceramic bearings, making it genuinely durable, designed for real life, not a safe.
And offered at a price point that just dramatically undercuts the few comparable watches out there. Really trying to democratize high horology, in a way.
It highlights that mix of technical prowess and just practical design thinking, which leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought. When a watchmaker takes something traditionally seen as fragile, exclusive, super high-end, like a tourbillon, and makes it this robust, this wearable, and relatively speaking, this attainable,
Well,
does that start to change how we think about what high horology even means today, what it should be?
something to definitely chew on.